Good morning and welcome to A View from the House. We are coming to you live from the SABC's Parliamentary Studio at Parliament in Cape Town. I'm Kokedi Tanda. It's another important week at Parliament. Last week, members of the National Assembly spent 3 days in the House to debate the President's State of the Nation address. They will be back in numbers in the National Assembly chamber on Wednesday afternoon when Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan is to present his budget for the next financial year. That address will be live on SABC radio as well as television. But before we go there, we still have some unfinished business on this program. Last week, we brought you the views of a wide range of political parties on government's vision for the new year. This morning, we continue with that and focus specifically on views expressed with regard to the independence of the judiciary. Our first item today, though, is an interview with the president of the Inkatha Freedom Party, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. The 83-year-old veteran founded the IFP in 1975 and is still at the helm of his party. He has also held the chieftainship of the large Buthelezi tribe since 1953. That makes it almost 60 years. He has been leading his party in Parliament since 1994. But today, he is our studio guest in a wide-ranging interview recorded earlier. We first asked him for his assessment of the President's State of the Nation address, and this is how he responded.
I think his statement of intent was plausible. I said as much myself, but I deplored the fact that there were things that were left out which were very important, such as, for instance, telling the nation how much was achieved in terms of what was planned last year and previously. That's what I concentrated on, and I think that there were things which I could not understand how the president could leave out, because he need not have been ashamed of them, because even when it came to his ministers who transgressed, he actually took action. That if it's a state of the nation, it should be just that, a state of the nation, and be told to the nation warts and all. I think they left out the warts. This was the only thing, that was the gist of my speech, that he should not have left out the warts in the State of the Nation. There was nothing wrong with the statement as a statement of intent.
Yes, in your address in the National Assembly, you mentioned some critical areas which affect health, education. To make this a better country, what advice will you give to the president?
Well, I would say that the major threat, as I said as much, I think, in my remarks, the major threat to this country is corruption. In the public life of this country, right up from the lowest rung of government, local government, right up to the national government where we are. And I think that unless that is addressed seriously, more seriously than it's done at present, it means that we're just pouring water in a bottomless bucket, because, all the funding that is set aside by government, which actually is admirable, to say that he plans to do this and that, infrastructure, and to create jobs in the process, all that is good. But it's no use, when that money doesn't end up actually being spent for what it is set aside for. So that is, to me, that is the first thing that the president should tackle, in order not to waste the taxpayers' money by allowing, people who salivate for these funds. The moment next week, Mr. Minister of Finance, Ms. Gordhan, mentions the budget, there are people who are salivating, about these entrepreneurs and others to steal all that money from taxpayers.
Let's now look at the role of the IFP in Parliament. You've had your first caucus meeting for the year. What have your party set out as top priorities for this parliamentary session?
Our top priority is that we're a small party. And in terms now, in the reality of us being few, we have talked about how more effective we can be. And there are members, I'm sure, of the party who are in Parliament who are visible and who are very effective. And I would mention, for instance, Mr. Singh, Dr. Ambrosini, and others. So I was saying that in terms of that kind of action, other members too, few as we are, can be very effective, because I have been in politics for a long time, and at one time in this Parliament, Helen Suzman was just alone, but she was alone, was but very vociferous was heard throughout the world. So size doesn't mean anything.
What do you consider to be critical legislation before Parliament that your party would focus on during this session?
I think that the information bill, more than any other, I think that it really threatens the democracy in our country, and also it sort of tries to undo so much that has been done from the time of Madiba up to now. I think that that's the major problem which I see as far as legislation is concerned.
Like any other opposition party, the IFP also have the responsibility to do oversight over state departments and to hold the executive to account. Is your party fulfilling that role?
Yes, in fact, today, I'm glad you asked me this question today. Two of our members of parliament, Helen Makubu and Dr. Ambrosini, were out there meeting with the people of the DRC who are actually being persecuted by the police, and who were being singled out, who were protesting today. I think that is part of the oversight that you're talking about.
Yes. You earlier on mentioned that the IFP is a small party, and your political opponents are of the view that your party has become nothing more than a regional political party confined to KwaZulu-Natal with very little national significance. How do you respond to that?
Does it make invalid what we say? Does it make the truth that we dish out, less the truth because we're small? Of what relevance is that? I don't understand the relevance of that, because I mean, in the older democracies, there are many small parties. In Europe, for instance, where I've been traveling over decades, there's small parties like the Green Party and so on, but no one despised them and ignored, their contribution to what the country should be, merely because they were small.
Like any other political party, the IFP is also having its own internal challenges. Not so long ago, Mangosuthu Msibi left the party to form her own breakaway party. And now recently, the Secretary General, Reverend Musa Zondi, who is a very senior person and very powerful member of parliament, also resigned. Are these signs of a political party falling apart?
Why? This was for different reasons altogether, Ms. Tanda. This were different reasons, because with Mangosuthu Msibi, I stated here in parliament and told Mr. Zuma, and the ANC that they were responsible for that because they want to be, to have a one-party state. I mean, the money of the ANC was used. Billionaires such as Mr. Skhwale were actually, supporting Mangosuthu Msibi. So the reasons for that are completely different. Madiba summed it up very well in 2004. He said about me, a clipping that was actually used during my 80th birthday. He said that we have used all sorts of ammunition to destroy him, but we have failed. He remains a formidable survivor. So you can see there is a program, to destroy the IFP, because the ruling party wants to be the only one party, because they want a one-party state. Now, concerning Reverend Zondi, I'm not going to rehash what Reverend Zondi said, because Reverend Zondi actually called a whole big, press conference in which the SABC was involved. And that was broadcast. He stated that he was going away for party reasons. He didn't leave the party. He's still a member of the party. In fact, he was seized just now as a party with this document, which he authored for us to try and chart a way forward. So I mean, there are two different reasons why those two leaders left.
Finally, Ndabezitha, the IFP's elective conference has been postponed several times since last year. When is it now likely to happen, and how soon, or has Reverend Zondi already been replaced? If not, how soon?
I'm just telling you now. I say that we were seized just now with a document which Reverend Zondi authored, in fact, to prepare for conference. Because you see, with the money that the ANC supplied, Mangosuthu Msibi destroyed our branches. He set up bogus branches, all over the place. We're trying to deal with that now. And Reverend Zondi has left us with a very important document, which, in fact, this weekend, both on Saturday and Sunday, there'll be meeting of leaders, groups of leaders that are going out to try and set up our branches. And that is not peculiar to us either, because even the Durban region of the ANC, they've postponed and postponed the conference precisely because when you're going to have a conference, you must have delegates to conference to have a credible conference. You can't just have a conference by calling, people come around, fellows, let's have a conference. Every conference must actually be attended by delegates who come from branches that are credible.
And that was Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, president of the Inkatha Freedom Party, talking to us in an interview recorded earlier. After the break, a call from the Minister of Public Enterprises to save energy and a high-level debate in Parliament about the independence of the judiciary. Stay with us.